Welcome to the Album Anniversary Podcast. Today's show is about Burlap to Cashmere by Burlap to Cashmere. It was released July 9th, 2011 and is celebrating a 15-year anniversary.
Keep your eyes on the new day. You and me, we are the same. Shout it out on the horizon. And don't forget to change your name. I am at ease, the ocean's near, the sun is sinking. The moon is tame, the fever's gone, and I feel
Hi, welcome to the
fine.
show. I'm your host, Caleb, or Caleb the Spy is what I go by on social media. And every day on social media sites, I post about what I call album anniversaries, or I do my best. So on the Album Anniversary Podcast, we take a look at a classic album, an album we love, or an album that's important to us. On today's show, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Again, we're going to be talking about Burlap to Cashmere by Burlap to Cashmere. And I'm joined by their lead singer, Stephen Delopoulos. I hope I said it right. I struggle through it every time, but he was nice enough to sit down for about an hour or so to talk about this record and a little bit of the band history and some other things. So I really appreciate him joining the show. I'm going to kick it over to that interview. Thanks so much for listening. And I hope you enjoy. All right, so like we said, I want to welcome to the show Stephen Delopoulos from the band Burlap to Cashmere. So excited to have you on the show. So excited to talk to you.
Hey, thanks, Caleb. Thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Yeah, I know this is a record, and Burlap to Cashmere is a band that means a lot to a lot of people. In fact, there's a college friend that I have that I really want to see if I can find, because I think if I tell him, like, hey, you'll never guess who I just talked to, he is going to freak out. When I think of Burlap to Cashmere, I always think of Kevin Book. That was the guy I went to college with, because he went on and on about that first record back in college. So,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, for some reason the band brings up certain intense memories for really certain intense people. you know?
well, and I think you guys had such, especially when you broke in, you had, for the time, I think, a really unique sound. And it's something that then kind of became like, I'm not making this one-to-one comparison, but I can hear those connections to like the stomp clamp clap stuff that kind of became popular, like the Lumineers and the Mumford and Sons and some of those. There's enough connective tissue that it's like, man, if you guys, that would have been going on when you guys were kind of ahead of your time in some ways on that.
And we were ripping it off from the Gypsy Kings. So, I mean, I think, it's a train of musicians and bands that we all just kind of swipe from,
Yeah, well, all music is, right? There's no way around it. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, one of the fun things about this experience, well, I say fun, and then I don't actually know if it's fun for people, but is the idea like putting yourself back in this record came out in 2011. So like, trying to think back, that was 15 years ago. The world is a much different place.
Jeez.
And so just really quickly, I'm going to go through some kind of news things from 2010, 2011, because I'm assuming you guys were writing this and working on it potentially in 2011. So those are, kind of also feed into it. So a couple things from 2011, right? There's the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. There's the Haiti earthquake. President Obama gets the Affordable Care Act through.
Wow.
There's the WikiLeaks controversy, the Chilean miner one.
Man.
Those are kind of some of the big, there's the European economic crisis. And the iPad is first released in 2010, so the year leading up to this. For 2011, some kind of news stories. There's the Arab Spring. It was there was another one later, but that was one of the first ones, was the Arab Spring going on in 2011. The Japan triple disaster, the earthquake, tsunami, and then nuclear power plant disaster in 2011. Osama bin Laden is killed on May 2nd of 2011.
Wow.
And then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are all growing. And this is really when they transition to really becoming news sources for a lot of people, and not just kind of a place where people occasionally throw out random stuff.
Wow.
So that's kind of a mindset of 2010, 2011 for news. And then I just want to mention a couple things going on in the music industry. So biggest record in 2010 is Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. So you guys are a little bit different than that. Eminem has got one. Taylor Swift is starting to go Speak Now. Her album That's a big hit in 2010. And then in 2011, the biggest record is 21 by Adele. And then Ed Sheeran has a record that's in the top 10. Drake does, Lady Gaga. A lot of those pop ones are the big things going on. So that's kind of a little bit of a snapshot. It's a lot of me talking. But so for
Yeah.
you, put us back in 2010, 2011, and not even musically, but just like what's important to you and what's kind of going on? What are the things that are on your mind in
Yeah,
2010, 2011?
that's wow. That's really interesting, and it really brings up a lot in my head. But but I know I know that for me, I was really sick at the time.
Hmm.
2010, 11, I had chronic Lyme disease,
Oh.
and it was very disabling. And I remember that was sort of what was going on.
Hmm.
And so doing another record, I remember Teddy, our drummer, was living in London and he had just moved back. I
Hmm.
believe he was going through something personal. And me and my cousin were, Johnny had gotten over from this crazy accident. And
Yeah.
I was like, like passing out all the time from this crazy disease that no one really knew how to treat. And so it was really this like, this redemptive, like, let's get out of out of this dark hole that we're
Hmm.
all in. And Steven's writing these songs, and Johnny's interested in arranging like amazing guitar solos, and Teddy's, this glue is like, let's do something, let's get this back. And we got a manager, and so we were all kind of like hurt, but yet, like we were risen to this occasion that was very healing and very fun,
Yeah.
which was making a record. Um, and then what else comes to mind right away? I remember being in the office of Jive Records, Sony Records, through this process of meeting getting our manager Tom Lewis, and then our old A&M A&M Records Al Cafaro was interested in helping us to get signed to Sony. So I
Hmm.
remember him in the office, talking to the execs from Sony saying, you should sign these guys. They sold a lot of records and they're great. And then we played for them, long story short, and signed and went to California and just auditioned all these producers.
Hmm.
So that in a nutshell, like I'm kind of giving you a lot of information, but that's, with all of those topics that you presented to me, it really brings up a personal one because
Yeah.
that's what was going on. So a lot of the things that were happening and flying by in the news, I wasn't really paying too much attention to, but of course aware of,
Hmm.
because of how the creative process really takes over and starts to heal and starts to give, and before you know it, you're soaked in this other thing.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I knew about uh Johnny's recovery, like, because he was, I mean, a crazy, crazy situation. Or John, sorry, John or Johnny. I think you said Johnny. I have
That's
his
go
name written down,
John,
John.
both. Yeah, that's fine.
But like, he was like attacked essentially, and like it was
Mhm.
scary. And I mean, there was I mean, the news. I found a news article from kind of back in the day, kind of talking about his recovery. And so like, not only was that going on, I didn't know that you were going on through something too. And so like, did that really, like, you talked about it being healing, but was it also a chance to like kind of come together and talk through some of those things, or was it just like, look, we know what's going on, let's focus on getting this done?
Yeah, we're not like heart to heart kind of people. It's more like, what are you doing? That's cool. Let's try this. Oh, cool. Oh, this is fun. It's like a puzzle that you're presenting to each other, and the language is music. It's not
Hmm.
really like, how are you feeling emotionally and where are you in your life. None of that ever happens in this Burlap the Cashmere project. I mean, from the beginning, it's never been about that. It's
Okay.
been really pure, like, pure impulsive creativity, and a lot of laughs
Hmm.
and a few big arguments, and just being young men, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I want to at some point, like, well, I'll ask it now. Back to John's medical, like his situation was, thought like he was like even kind of like not relearning to play guitar, but like it was that extensive for him, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that he was.
no, you're right. You're right. It was tough. It was I think they thought he was DOA, dead on arrival, because his face was
Yeah.
off of he was hanging off of his skull. I mean, it was bad. So he was in a coma for a while. In fact, he was like, when he started talking, he was talking to his grandfather who was deceased,
Hmm.
and passed, and he was talking to the dead. So he was on on another plane. But once he woke up, I was there
Hmm.
because we're a family, but also because I love John, and I was really concerned. But we would break out our guitars as soon as possible. And
Hmm.
he had some physical things. I think a little bit, when someone gets hit in the head really hard, they have the they're not a little they're not as they can't really project the way they would like to, and they
Yeah.
could, sometimes go through crazy emotions um at any moment. And I think Johnny went through that sort of like he came back from war sort of mentality.
Hmm.
Um, but it took him a few years, a bunch of operations. In fact, he just got his second eye opened 2 weeks ago
Wow.
in an operation. So he didn't get it operated for years just because he didn't, he was concerned with some of the techniques and stuff. But
Hmm.
but he got it done, and he's finally back to himself. But Johnny's cool. He's he's he keeps me laughing. He's a good guy.
That's good. And then, so obviously for him to get into this, but then you were talking about like the Lyme's disease, and you talked about this being healing. Was it though like very physically taxing on you to get in a record, or did it feel like a relief almost to get in the chance to do it?
Yeah, so a part of you wants to feel like your youth is as healthy as ever. So I would kind of strain myself and
Hmm.
push myself, and then I would get sicker, and it was
Yeah.
that kind of one step forward, two steps back, and then looking for techniques to get better, and then before you know it, you're putting lemon and gasoline down your throat, hoping that works. And I mean, there's like so many things, and
Yeah.
going online back in the day was new. So no, now they'd be like, don't ever go online and figure out how to help yourself. I mean, people do it still, and I'm sure I do too at times. But back in the day, I mean, the internet was still fresh and and buttery, and
Yeah.
you'd open up the computer, you'd be like, how to heal Lyme disease, twist your arm and smack yourself in the face 5 times. So I was going through a lot of that stuff. So one step forward, two steps back. But we had a great producer, and he was really understanding. So yeah, it was a challenge physically for
Hmm.
sure. And it's amazing.
Well, so you brought up Jive Records and you brought up the producer. Let's talk a little bit about how you guys got connected with Jive, because I mean, I started looking up records, and sometimes I'll like, for some of these record labels, they're tiny. So you start listing records and you're like, these are the three big ones. And I was like,
Mm,
I mean, Jive is a huge conglomerate. And then there's kind of like
hmm,
Essential is also like it feels like a Christian offshoot of it. So Jive is
mm-hmm.
huge, like some of the biggest artists in the world. And then the Essential one, which I think you guys were also slightly connected with, is like, there's some of the names on there, like Third Day has got a record on there, Caden's
Mm-hmm.
Call, Jars of Clay, Casting Crowns, those Bebo Norman, Dr. Bebo Norman, all the best. You became a doctor after he left the music industry, which I always,
Oh yeah.
yeah, he's if you Google him, he's He's a like a nurse practitioner down in Nashville, I think. And it's like, oh,
Hey, listen, you got to make a living
yeah. I think it's a cool transition if he can do it.
for
So,
sure.
but like,
Yeah.
how did you guys get connected? You talked about like going out and auditioning with Sony, but like, what was your connection point to getting with Jive? Because again, huge record label after especially a a fairly long hiatus.
I kind of stayed out of all that stuff
Hmm.
because our manager at the time really had those connections and working with using Al Cafaro to, Al Cafaro's a big name. And,
Hmm.
he ran A&M Records for God knows how many years, but
Hmm.
he's quite a legend. I mean, the Police. I mean,
Yeah.
all of them. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. But anyway, and he's a really sweet guy, and for some reason he took to us and liked our music when we were signed to him back in the '90s. So, and he knew Tom, our manager, really well. They were close. They worked together. So he helped out Tom
Hmm.
and helped out us and walked in the room with all of these big wigs and suits for Jive Record, old men,
Yeah.
and very stiff. And I think we might have fibbed a little bit on how many records we sold, and and I think we might have, but uh, but it didn't matter because it was about the romance of the meeting and like
Hmm.
I didn't do any of the talking. All we did was perform. But between Al Cafaro and Tom Lewis, it was very, very poetic and
Hmm.
romantic. And I remember thinking when I was done with that, I love that guy Al Cafaro. He's cool, he's smooth, he's
Yeah.
good. And then we got signed. I think about a month or two after that, and we flew to California and started the process of auditioning producers.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so I guess to focus and answer your question, I kind of stayed out of the talks, but it's funny when we got that deal with Sony, I really was like, yeah, it was very like, of course we got a record deal. Like
Right.
I wasn't like, oh wow, this is amazing. I was like, yeah, no, we have a lot to say. It was very like this has to happen.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling, and not in an egotistical way, but in like it just felt right. Like, yeah, of course we're gonna make a record and it's gonna be supported and we're gonna get financed.
Hmm.
So that's how I felt. And but yeah, that so it just happened. It's just like past the salt.
That's amazing. Like just knowing the right people and having the right people in your corner, like just willing to kind of go to bat for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's so
Yeah,
cool. And you talked about
yeah.
auditioning producers. You guys ended up with Mitchell Frome. Now, if you go to his Discogs page, just for people who don't want to do the research themselves, he's got like 541 credits, tons, and like just tons and tons of stuff. And that was like, I think I just did production. I think he's got even more. So some of his notable people that he's produced, just for context for people, he's worked with Tracy Chapman, he's worked with Elvis Costello, he's worked with Sheryl Crow, Crowded House, Bob Dylan, Peter Gabriel, the Indigo Girls, Paul McCartney, Bonnie Raitt, and Rufus Wainwright. How did you guys get connected with? It feels like a living legend, because I mean, seriously, those are some huge names. So just going through the auditions and got connected with him.
Well,
Is that simple or more complicated?
no, no, that's a great question, and it really makes me think. My wheels turn because that around 2010, around 2011 is when really the music industry started to change.
Hmm.
So people were looking for uh producers were looking to make a living, musicians were
Hmm.
looking to make a living. And I think, big time producers from the 90s were looking for work. I
Hmm.
mean, because the industry was dying, really.
Yeah.
And that's around the time where it started to, as far as the labels into the,
Yeah.
streaming and all that. So we got to kind of meet, producers that had a lot of clout, and
Hmm.
they were really just looking to make a living. But Mitchell, to be fair, also wanted to have something good creatively under his belt, and he did really like what we did.
Hmm.
And so and yeah, so and we got along with him. He was really nice. He was kind of like a dad to us. He was very, very sweet. We recorded the record in the back of his house. He had like a house in the
Nice.
back. It was in yeah, yeah, it was cool. It was in Santa Monica.
Okay.
Did I say that? Oh, I hope it's Santa Monica. Santa Monica. I think yeah, Santa
I don't
Monica.
think anybody will fact check you. It's Santa Monica now. We're going with
No,
it.
but if my drummer or my cousin hears this, they'll probably be like, "What is wrong with that guy?" Yeah, but we rented a pad in LA
Hmm.
and recorded in the back of his house. And his wife was so nice. She would make us dinner all the time, and
Hmm.
she was like in this she was an actress, but still is, but she was in this big TV show at the time. And gosh, I forget the name of the show. Remember, Harrison Ford's wife? What's her name?
Anne Heche, right? No,
No, no,
no,
no. That was in
that's
a movie they were
yeah, that
made.
was in a movie. Flockhart.
Anyway, yeah, yeah, she was in a big '90s TV show.
Yeah.
Anyway, his Mitchell Froome's wife was in that show, and she was like the cabaret singer,
Okay.
and she was kind of big time, but she was very, very, very sweet, very friendly, and their son was so nice.
Hmm.
Anyway, long story short, we recorded in his house, so it was cool.
Yeah. And that was a different experience. So previously you had worked with I think a guy named David. I can't remember his first name or his last name, but or maybe it was Jay. I can't remember who you're the first you've worked with
Yeah,
three different producers.
Jay Healy, the
Okay.
first record, Jay
Yeah.
Healy and David Rolfe.
Okay. So how is
Yeah.
it different than that experience? Like, cause I'm assuming, like it's especially now that you've laid the context of, dinners and in the back of the house, I'm assuming this is just a very different experience from working with them.
Oh yeah, well, back in the day in the '90s when we worked with Jay Healy and David Rolfe, we were at the Hit Factory in New York,
Oh.
and we were Pro Tools had just came out,
Hmm.
so uh, Jay Healy, yes, he was musical, but he was more of like a calculated computer Pro Tools guy. He knew how to work it. Not
Hmm.
many people did back then, so he was
Yeah.
like a wizard at Pro Tools. So, our drummer, our poor drummer would be, was trying to figure out, we would have to like, move his drums onto the click and everything. If you notice that first record, it's very unique, but it's also very sterile.
Hmm.
There's something very sterile about it because it was all Pro Tools. Everything was digital
Hmm.
and everything was lined up. Even when it was off, it got lined up.
Hmm.
Whereas this record, everything was free and
Yeah.
everything was live,
Nice.
and I had just finished writing songs that day, and we would record them that night.
Hmm.
It was cool, and we would hang out. Me, Johnny, and Teddy, we would hang out and have so much fun, and then the next day we would do it again, and so there was a live. I think a live entity on that record,
Hmm.
whereas it didn't have it on the first one.
Yeah. And was that something that like Mitchell encouraged or really brought out of you, or you just brought that to him and he was like, "Yeah, let's go with it"? Or do you think he really helped that also come through, that liveness and that like organic almost feeling?
It was all him. Let me
Hmm.
let me be very clear. We did not know how to make a record.
Oh, interesting.
We that first record, we were, like I said, we were aligned. We were moved.
Hmm.
We were we would perform it, and it would be so tweaked and fine tuned that it was almost like anyone could have done it. When
Hmm.
we in the and I'm not, I have to give us credit. We were a great live band, but as far as recording, we were so green. So the
Hmm.
second time around, we were still very green, and we didn't really know how to arrange this because a lot of those songs were unfinished. So it was
Hmm.
really like writing and arranging. And if we didn't have Mitchell Froome there, we would have killed each other. It just would
Hmm.
not have. It would have fell apart.
Yeah.
And then he knew how to handle us. He knew how to handle me, the the songwriter who's like, don't touch my songs, like, you don't know what this song's about, like, stay away. And then Johnny, who's like, no, I hear the bass, and my cousin is like an alien with arranging and guitar playing. I mean, it doesn't end for him. Like, it's a nonstop flow of, of thoughts. I mean, he's
Yeah.
crazy in the best way. And Teddy's very Teddy's very smooth and cool, and has a great hit on those drums, and he's very smart, Teddy, and he's very aware of what we're doing. So it was a matter of calming the young boys down and really focusing, and Mitchell knew how to handle us. So
That's amazing.
if it wasn't Mitchell, we wouldn't have finished a record, or it wouldn't have been as good, I don't think,
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I love that idea too of like it feeling, different and almost just being like a learning experience of like, oh, this is how you do this. Has that impacted like future music for you? Do you sometimes Mark Nash was on the show recently, and he kind of talked about like the producer they work with. Now if he's not working with him, he kind of almost goes back to what would he do, and he tries to figure it out that way. Have you taken any of that stuff from your time with Mitchell into like other projects?
I'm not aware of it if I do.
Hmm.
I think Johnny more so, and
Okay.
Teddy more so, especially Johnny, because Johnny probably soaked in a lot of the production of Mitchell and how he works.
Hmm.
For me, I'm really just a lonely singer songwriter, who really didn't have who paid attention just enough
Hmm.
to finish the material, whereas I think Johnny was more in the intricate, watching the engineer, and same with Teddy, really
Yeah.
interested in how the process worked. I know Teddy was really, really tight with those guys too. And we all loved Mitchell,
Hmm.
and gosh, his engineer was so amazing. David something. It's I feel bad that I don't know his last name, but he was so great. But yeah, those they taught us a lot. As far as what I learned, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's sewn in me somewhere, but for me, it's just really figuring how to figure out how to finish a song. But what Mitchell did was he told the guys to back off
Hmm.
from kind of giving me advice on the songs,
Hmm.
because I would get very defensive, and then we wouldn't get anywhere, and there'd be like an argument.
Hmm.
So in a way, I got a lot of respect as a songwriter in that element, and it made me open up to the guys, and I went, hey, what do you think? So
Hmm.
that's what he was doing. He was breaking down those barriers and walls and defensive personalities, aspects of what we were as a group, and it really made everything safe. And
Yeah.
I think that's maybe what I learned, was to try and be to try to create that atmosphere, even though I probably couldn't do it alone.
Hmm. That's awesome. Well, we all need help with things, and that's
Yeah,
amazing to hear that idea of just like somebody who's there for the band and is there to like help get the best out of you. That's awesome. So
yeah, he did it.
that's cool.
Tonight, the stars align, and it leaves a shade of wonder. Yes, tonight, the story tells like thunder.
I am interested. There's a 13-year gap from the first record to this record. And what was it that like inspired you guys to be like, hey, I know it's been 10 years. It's time to come back. Like, was there some event, or was it just the right time, right place? I mean, it was there it feels like a long time. And so it's like, what was it? What drew you guys, the three of you, back? And I know it was a little bit of a lineup change, but what was that really kind of drew the three of you back to this?
I think Johnny and I have always been playing with each other, but I think Teddy, really wanted to be in a band,
Hmm.
and I think that's to be in a successful group. He was in one in England when he was living there, and I think he wanted to organize
Hmm.
something that was creative and successful, and we kind of, Johnny and I, our drive is different as far as a drive. Let's say, let me give you an example. Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen.
Sure.
Bruce Springsteen, without his manager, would probably be playing restaurants in Monmouth County because he's just an artist. He just wants to play. He's not the guy going, maybe he has some of that, and he probably would yell if he were to hear me say that. But I really believe that. Now, John Bon Jovi, on the other hand, if he wasn't a musician, he'd be the CEO of a diaper company or something, because he's just got that drive.
Yeah.
So Johnny and I don't have that drive, as far as business goes, and I think Teddy really has more of that drive, and really and some of the creative as well, and wanted to bring that together. Now, the one who has that drive, that business drive more so, was our first manager, Jay Ernest, from the 1999 record, or 98 album.
Yeah.
He's got a crazy drive. So a lot of me and Johnny's success is really kind of jumping on trains,
Just getting the right people. I mean, that's important,
Right.
Knowing the right people who know how to get you in the right opportunities, right? Because that's half the battle.
I guess so. Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my current job, I really, I'll even say, people, when I do interviews, they'll be like, what type of work do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm less worried about the work I do and who I'm working for. Because if you can't trust the people above you, and you can't trust them to put you in the right place,
right,
it doesn't really matter. I don't need to be excited by my work. I need to be put in an opportunity to actually get it done well. So yeah,
that's a good point. Mm-hmm.
So you've kind of started to talk about a little bit about the process for writing, and I know every band is different. And I've never produced anything. I've never made anything. I always had this idea of a band is they all get together and they all just you're fiddling around, and then these songs come out of it. But I am now much smarter than I was 25 years ago. Well, marginally smarter. But it sounds like you, for a lot of these songs, are you coming with a fully fleshed out idea, almost all the time? Because I think you're the primary songwriter. Or is it you're coming with, I got an idea, or I got a lick, or I got a chorus? How does that process generally work for you guys?
No. So I grew up listening to Harry Chapin and Paul Simon and Bob Dylan and Don McLean. So to me, it was about completing a song on the guitar. And so I would bring it to Johnny, and there would be, let's say a bridge. Then Johnny would come in and he'd be like, I hear a solo here, or could we try this, kind of change up certain parts of the bridge, but I've always been really interested in the singer-songwriter. I'm fascinated by Paul Simon, not because of how great his band is and how he is live, but because he wrote the songs. And I love that aspect of the interconnection of projecting and performing, but really having a poetic message. To me, that's what it's always been about. So
yeah,
I've always had people around me who have been gracious enough to go, okay, Steve, this is cool. But maybe we could change it here, change it there. What can you work on that? Then I'm like, okay, let me go back. But as far as the band and the percussion and Johnny's guitar playing, I mean, we would change up chords so his solos would be good. And then Johnny's arrangements, his solos alone are alien stuff. So it's there's a part of me that writes for him too, and writes for us, where I let go and I let Johnny do his thing, because I don't write what Johnny does. I can't do what he does. I can't think the way he does. I mean, that's the magic of Burlap to Cashmere is the Harry Chapin mix with UFO stuff, and Gypsy Kings and all that stuff. So that's where the band's combo, that's where the force is and the harmonies. I don't throw the harmonies on my songs. But as far as bringing the song to the group, it's always been that way for me so far. Yeah.
For you, is it this like I've got an idea of like lyrics and I want to find the music that matches? Like an example for me is I think Closer to the Edge from this record. It feels a little darker and the lyrics are a little, I mean, that idea, Closer to the Edge, right? It feels a
Mm-hmm.
little like it feels like it matches really well. Or does it sometimes it's messing around with the guitar and you're like, "Oh, this would be good to carry a theme. What do I want to say about that theme? Is it lyrics that kind of drive a melody, or is it sometimes a melody that's driving a lyrical content?"
That's a great question, and it's a mystery to me too. So I don't know how to totally answer that. But I think closer to the edge, I was opening up for Jars of Clay, and
Hmm.
I was young, and I remember in the locker room writing that. Um, a lot of it is like hearing a melody in your head when you're strumming chords,
Hmm.
La, 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 da. You're playing the chord and da 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 da, and you open up your pad and you just write, taken
Yeah.
to the pond of trust, da, 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 dust, you're rhyming it and you're making it feel right, and then you listen to it again, you're like, nah, let's try this,
Sure.
that kind of thing, so
So it is really just build. It's almost like build, test, and just kind of keep on like refining and refining. Like, oh, this worked, this didn't work, and building on
oh
top of each
yeah.
other.
Oh yeah. I wrote a song called Daisies and Sandalwood. It was on a solo record I did back in the day. And I think I had like, I don't know, like 12 or 13 revisions of the song
Hmm.
before I recorded it, because the lyrics wouldn't match the chords, because sometimes I'll just write a poem. I
Hmm.
like doing that, just writing a poem, and then someone will say, "Well, write a song to that," and then I have to just destroy the whole poem and like fit the imagery to make the song work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's you know.
I like that idea of a puzzle. Even like a personal puzzle. Like and then you add the band, it's probably even more of a puzzle, right? Like you've got this
Oh
set
yeah.
and then it's like, "All right, hey, now I want to throw this that piece doesn't fit at all in this jigsaw puzzle and I'm like 400 pieces in."
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's funny because me and my cousin we laugh about it a lot, but he'll tell me, I think on one of the songs on the record that you're talking about on the Burlap the Cashmere record, that gosh, I had written some really corny words to one of the songs. I think it was oh yeah, I am at ease, the ocean's near, that one. The
Yeah.
sun is sinking, right? Um gosh, I forgot what I said, but it was so corny and so bad. Um I am alive or something I said, and Johnny was like, you gotta change that. And that's so bad, and him and Teddy would like, make fun of me behind my back, and I would be like really, really pissed off, ticked off. And then I'd go into the drawing board and eventually rewrite it. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Hmm. So then like looking back at like you're writing poems and you're writing these lyrics and we kind of did that little bit of history so we kind of know like some of the things going on but like were were the things that were inspiring you for writing different like 13 years later from that first record? You've got this gap. Like what are those things that you're really drawing on at the time that are kind of leading to like kind of inspire the not just the lyrics but the words
Mm-hmm.
to or the words and the music to this record?
Sure. So there's a song on there, I believe, called Love Reclaims the Atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that was definitely from being ill with
Mm,
Lyme disease, and just feeling like I don't know if I'm going to survive this kind of feeling.
mm,
So there's a darkness on that record for sure,
yeah.
and kind of a spooky holiday theme,
Yeah.
um, through the record. So yeah, there's that, but a lot of when we put out a record, a lot of the songs were written sometimes 10 years before, and
Oh.
then you're revamping it. Then sometimes you're just gathering pocket songs that you've had and making it better, and then you start writing songs in the present because you really like where everything's going, and then you go back and rewrite, or you the record's done and then you're like, oh, I just wrote the greatest song ever. We gotta record this. And then you go back in the studio, like, 3 weeks when you're supposed to be finished and bang out another song. So yeah.
Yeah.
All the dizziness of traffic as her garden starts to wither. She opens up her violin so the darkness can forgive her. And today we'll crucify the fear as love reclaims the atmosphere.
You've talked about some of those like influences, right? And I love seeing where influences show up on a record. And I'll give you an example. Like for me, you talked about love reclaims the atmosphere. Like my exact note is like I feel a lot of Simon and Garfunkel on here, a lot of Paul Simon on this. And so like where do you find other spots where you're like, "Oh, this is a song that we totally like this, I can feel that inspiration just coming right through on this song."
Oh, Love Reclaims the Atmosphere for sure is
Yeah.
a Simon and Garfunkel, hymn-like folk song.
Yeah.
The first song, I Am at Ease, Don't Forget to Write,
Yeah.
is very Cat Stevens to me.
Okay, I'm glad you said
Um,
Cat Stevens because I wrote that down and you hadn't mentioned him yet, and I was like, I really feel like I hear a lot of Cat Stevens on this record. So,
yeah, no, I love Cat Stevens.
hmm,
I grew up listening to his music. I'm a huge fan of his voice and his, again, another songwriter, a
yeah,
singer-songwriter
absolutely,
who yes, he could sing and play guitar and perform and play the piano and all that's beautiful, but he wrote it, man.
yeah,
That's coming from his heart, his guts, like his soul is singing to us. And that to me, even Don McLean when he sings, and I love you so,
hmm,
the book of life is brief, and once a page is read, all but love is dead. That is my belief. He wrote that and he's
yeah,
singing it with a beautiful melody on the guitar. So yeah, I that fires me up in the best way. I love singer-songwriters, especially from that era.
yeah. Do you feel like it comes through more on this record than the first one? My opinion is yes. So you're not gonna, but like this one feels a little bit more like that. Like there is a lot more that
Sure.
singer songwriter influence on here.
Absolutely. It's more mature. I think the first album was more Tin Pan Alley,
Yeah,
Harry Chapin. I'd say it was definitely more hard, with Johnny and Mike on guitar, Gypsy King's influence.
yeah,
Um, we had a great live band that first album,
hmm,
and it was really just about taming what we did live onto a record, which was, like I said, was difficult, but thanks to Pro Tools. But but that live band was so good. And you know I was telling my mom this the other day. It's like, yeah, I love writing and presenting it, but if you don't have a good band to sell the songs, to have a good live show, being a songwriter is almost worthless if you
hmm,
if you don't have an audience to listen to it. No, I'm not saying don't write songs if you don't have an audience, but I'm just saying, I mean, that's an awful thing to say. I would never say that, because that's a whole other podcast, actually, what
right.
art is and what's the point of existence and all of that jazz. But you know, yes, being a songwriter is important, but if you don't have a band to present it and to make it interesting and to incorporate their livelihoods of talent and melodies and guitar playing and percussion playing, and it wouldn't work.
Hmm.
It wouldn't work without that. So it really always was a 50-50 uh, idea and concept when we would play live.
Hmm. Did you guys get to tour this record at all and do some shows off this record?
We did a lot of one-offs.
Hmm.
We toured California. We went all the way down. We did San Francisco and Washington, Seattle. We did the whole West Coast.
Hmm.
Um, we played a couple spots on the East Coast, but what happened was with that record, unfortunately, was we had left left the label, we didn't get booted from the label. We actually asked to get released from the label,
Hmm.
just because we didn't think we would make any money.
Hmm.
Because we were so tied in that we would really be like, you know, playing shows for free and not really being able to build properly. So
Yeah.
we asked to get let go, and they let us go, and we got 100% of the album.
Hmm.
But then we were lost after that. We were just kind of faded,
Yeah.
and but that's okay, and I think the whole lesson there, and maybe for anyone listening, is that, and what we were talking about before was, if you get an opportunity to make art, if you get an opportunity to create, and there's a little bit of a platform there, like, do it, and don't look at the destination. Don't look at, like, oh, because what are you gonna do? Celebrate when you sell, 500,000 records, 600,000 records? Doesn't work that way. You just get more miserable.
Yeah.
So it's like the beauty is in the birth, and then, you have the internet, so it'll linger there through time. People want to find it, they'll find it.
You're right.
So
Well,
yeah.
and I think for you guys, the probably the process of it, it sounds like it's the process and the relationship of the band, right? I mean, again, you've got actual family in the band, so like
Mm-hmm.
that's even part of the value in it is the community that comes from it, I would think too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Absolutely. And we laughed so much on that album. I can't even, me and my cousin Johnny have a really strong connection on our humor. We could really laugh around each other. And
Mm,
Teddy, actually. I mean, it gets really, really fun,
right.
being around each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of the themes that come through on this record, and I have a kind of
Mm.
this is a funny one, I think. So this one isn't. It feels like there's a lot of references to like children and family. There's even mention of being an orphan, and then one of the other
Mm.
themes that comes up is kind of like the sea and the ocean,
Mm.
or even like. So that's one, and then the other one that comes up at least on two songs is almost like a non-traditional living. Like there's I want to sail onto the sea with my children, and I'm living in a van. So it's there's some interesting themes that kind of come through on this record. Was that like intentional and just on your mind, or like I'm trying to mash all those things together, and it's like I don't know where this is coming from.
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was drinking. I don't know. I, I mean, I think a lot of it is, yeah. I always loved the ocean,
Mm,
growing up. I'm a water boy. I mean, I grew up by the ocean. I live on a lake now. I love the water, and I always connect the ocean to divinity, to
mm,
eternity, to peace, to connection. So I think a lot of that writing was, and again, I was healing from,
mm,
from Lyme disease, and so a lot of that was, that connection was like a kind of my way of prayer at
mm.
the time. But I wouldn't go that deep, because I think I'm lucky if I write a song, I'm lucky, and if the words rhyme, I'm lucky, and I think that's as far as my brain takes it.
Okay,
And
okay.
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, don't tell anybody though.
We'll erase that part. Have you ever
Yeah.
actually lived in a van? I mean, there's a song about living in a van. Have you lived in
Oh,
a
no,
van?
no, no, no. It's all imaginary stuff. The live in a van is about a story about a guy who meets his wife, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a musician, and we need to live in a van if we're gonna get married and have kids, and that kind of thing."
Yeah, it's a really fun song, and I love that it
It
comes right
is.
after the orchestrated love song, which is like I appreciate. I have kids. I appreciate songs about
Yeah.
kids. I mean, they always stir something in me.
Mm-hmm.
Former or fellow New Jersey boy Brian Fallon, his songs about kids just wreck me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just I cannot get through his songs about his kids without crying. It
Mm-hmm.
just.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love a good song about kids, and so the living in the van one is just such a funny one. After like we're sailing to sea, and then we're coming home and living on a van, and I was like just
That's right. I
exploring.
never thought about it like that. Looking at the, I mean, come on. I mean, look at the first album. There's no thread of like, oh, this is consistent. Like,
Mm,
it's just how my brain works as a lyricist, and I think how the band's brain works too, as
yeah.
people were just so ADD, ADHD, just kind of out, not really the most focused individuals. But yeah, so that second record definitely had an ocean theme, and
Yeah.
there's some cool stories in there, and I really, I'm not putting it down. I really appreciate you bringing that up, but yeah, I never really thought about it, so that's,
Okay.
let me say that.
I was standing in the second round. I was laughing, but I didn't make a sound. Now I'm flying with my feet on the ground.
So I have to ask about well, there's a couple songs I want to talk about in specific, but like
Yeah.
Build a Wall is the second track.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
it's the most throwbacky to the first album, I think.
Okay.
It's got that the feel of that, kind of that, I don't know, it's less singer-songwriter than maybe some of the other ones. And
Yeah.
it's got a reference to Nehemiah, and
Right.
I have a child named Nehemiah
Get out of
who,
here.
yeah, my son's named Nehemiah, my
Oh
oldest
wow.
son, and I named him before that song came out. He's 16 now, so, or yeah, he's
Yeah,
16.
yeah.
But so I remember hearing that song for the first time, and I was like, did he just say Nehemiah builds the wall? I think he did, and I went and found the lyrics. Like, it is this is awesome. So, what is the inspiration for? I mean, obviously Nehemiah's got to play, but where did that song come from? I'm just very interested.
Oh man, you're putting me to work, huh? All right, well, let's see. I remember the melody. I would play it for Johnny. This is actually one of those songs I wrote in the studio. So
Mm,
I'd play that for Johnny. Da-na-na, da-na-na,
yeah,
da-na-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. Me and Johnny, we would have a cocktail or whatever, and we would get into that. We just like that song. And
yeah.
when Johnny points to something, he's like, "That's good, that's good. Let's work on that." It gets me like pumped up, and I go,
Mm,
"Oh, I have to write." But I never wrote anything, probably just because I never did. And so when we got to the studio, Monroe, that's another producer I worked with. Mitchell said, "Write that song," and so I did on a pad.
mm,
But it was really difficult
mm,
because the beats are very narrow,
yeah,
and so you can't put huge words. Shake the night, John the sun, close the shade. You can't say like, big words like,
yeah,
I love her hair inside the car. You can't, you got shake the light, John the sun, it's down to down, down to down, down to down, down to down, Nehemiah, build the wall. Um, and that's how I
mm,
write. So like, as far as like the definition of the song and what it meant, always look at that afterwards and go, oh, this is cool. This could mean that,
mm,
kind of thing,
yeah,
you know? So, and the Old Testament and is very foreign to me. Like
mm,
I definitely know bits and pieces of the Old Testament, but I'm not like a huge Old Testament buff. But I remember reading Nehemiah at some point. I know Jeremiah 29:11 was always like one of my favorite go-to scriptures. And once in a while, I would read about Nehemiah as I'd flip through the Bible, and I never really caught the whole story,
mm,
but I liked the vibe of the story, if that
yeah,
makes any sense. And so I threw it into a song. Yeah.
yeah. I always loved how he was I mean, we named him because of, I mean, it's a direct reference to Nehemiah, and
Yeah.
he's a leader, and he's a servant of others, and so it was like, yeah, this is something I hope all of my children are, is you don't have to be a leader like because you're the loudest, but how do you find ways to lead, and how do you find ways to be a servant? And so yeah, I it's of all the shows I've covered recently, because we go all over on this podcast. We do a lot of punk rock, and we get into heavy metal, and then we do some pop stuff. I will say this
Mm.
is the album, and that song in particular is the one that my wife is always excited because I'll be listening to the music a lot to get ready for the show, and this has probably been her favorite of the year in a lot of ways,
Oh,
and
tell
that
tell your
song
wife thank
means
you.
a lot to us. So yeah,
Oh, that's great. Well, I should have been more romantic about the song, but I should have been more thoughtful about it. But I remember it being a structural nightmare
yeah,
to create, and but oh, and I do have a regret on that song too. I remember, yesterday's gone,
mm,
tomorrow an illusion, and then infinity, infinity,
mm,
infinity. And then I go, I am fire, I am gold, I am river, I am sea. I talked it in a low tone. When I do it live, I scream it in like a kind of like a high pitched tone, and it's got energy. And I didn't do that on the record, and I really regret that because
mm,
it would have been so much. And I think actually that was Mitchell's idea to not do that, but I
mm,
regret listening to it now. It needed that on the
sure,
album. But I'm proud of the song we recorded.
yeah,
It was really fun. Yeah.
I love it. The follow up song to that, or the song that comes right after it, is Tonight. And what I really love about that song is that it is still a singer song. That again, the singer songwriter nature of it comes through.
Hmm.
But I love how it feels very epic, even though it's not this over. It doesn't feel overproduced, but yet it feels
Hmm.
epic. And like your vocals and the harmonies that you guys get going on during the chorus, especially, it just feels so like full and soaring, even though again
Hmm.
it's not this like Journey, like like Journey the band. It's not this like 80s ballad, but it feels so epic and powerful for such a like straightforward singer-songwriter song. So what was that
Hmm.
song like? What was where'd that song come from as you guys put it
So
together?
yeah, so live on a boat and sail away with my children, orchestrated love song. It's actually like the same chords,
Hmm.
a lot of it, and it's like a uh almost like a hybrid of that song.
Hmm.
uh and I kind of was playing with orchestrated love song when I was writing that, and then I started playing with Tonight.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how that happened. Tonight reminds me of a Duran Duran song, an
Hmm.
old Duran Duran song. Da-da-na-na-na-na-na, on your windowsill.
Yeah.
Um, her name is Rio or something like that. Just that haunted harmony kind of thing. And it's a dark lyrical song.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see. Tonight, just before my grave, Salah with bones and withered skin. It's a grave to sin afar from sheltered wings. But tonight, the stars in line,
Hmm.
and it leaves a shade. There's positivity to it too. But then at the end, it's got this Dave Matthews '90s kind of, kiss my butt, like kind of like see you later. I'm leaving this town. And it's very Greek, and very very silly in a way, but it's a cool song at the end because Johnny's guitar parts are
Hmm.
so out to lunch. And you got to see when he does it live. When we go on, we'll play Tonight for a long extended time at the end, and it's just sort of, especially when we have to kill time. I'll be like, Johnny,
Just keep
I'll
going.
give him. I'll give him the
Stretch it
the
out. Stretch it
fingers.
out.
He'll stretch it out. So we could stretch out Tonight forever. But then at the end, he'll want to kill me. He'll be like, I need a scotch after that.
Did so I should have asked you, are there any songs off this album? Oh, by the way, before I ask that question, I'm very
Mhm.
impressed with your ability to just 15 years later, like just come up with so many of these lyrics. Like I've listened to this a lot recently and I'm like, it's not my songs, but I'm like, oh yeah, how does that go? I'm very impressed with just still being able to come up with a lot of these lyrics.
Oh,
It's a
thanks,
nice.
man.
There's bands today that you don't know any of their own songs, so I'm impressed.
Yeah. Well, we still play them. We play
Hmm.
them live. So Johnny and I do a lot of duos together, and we'll throw it in our sets.
Hmm.
So it's still in there. But
Okay, that helps
as
probably.
far as like, Chop Chop or Ancient Man, I probably would not know how to play or sing it.
Live on a boat and sail away with my children. I wanna live on a boat and sail away with my children. Where the ocean hits the sky.
You have any favorites from this record? Like songs that you're like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of this song.
Oh yeah, Love Reclaims the Atmosphere. I think.
Okay.
I heard someone cover it. This girl
Really?
online. Yeah, and it brought me to tears. I thought, wow, this is. So sometimes, sometimes you do something. I think in life where you're like, there's no way I did that or wrote that. And Love Reclaims the Atmosphere to me feels very like probably maybe one of the better songs I've ever written, and it's really really every time I hear it, if I think about the words, and it really hits my heart and really makes me get emotional. Something, yeah. And I did write it. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I feel like I didn't. It's one of those songs that I'm like very separated from. I just feel very like honored to be a part of that happening.
Regular listeners of the show know that I'm all about the album closing. Like I'm always interested in bands like structuring. Like you take all these songs, right? And I was talking to somebody recently, and they were like, I was like, I was trying to get into the sequencing, and they were like, I don't think we thought that much about it. I think we just put them here because of that. And they didn't think it through. Were you guys thinking through the sequencing on this, or was it just kind of like, this makes sense here, this goes here, or was somebody else more interested in that sort of stuff?
I feel like we all had a say and wanted to have it a certain way. And I think, from what I remember, and I could be wrong, Mitchell Froome did the orchestrating at the end of the day. I think he did I think he had the last say, and which was like whatever, I didn't really care, but I know Teddy had a lot to do with the design of the album. He's very much on the look and the he's very good with that. On like our interviews, he's really into it. He's good at it too. He's a good orchestrator, Teddy, and he's talented visually too.
So then, what I love about this record is I love that I think two of the stronger songs are at the end. Like I love the way this album closes down. Seasons is the penultimate song, and then the Other Country are the two closing tracks. I mean, the Seasons and then the Other Country. And I do love. I mean, I'm usually I can be sold on a record if the closing to the record is strong, because I love so many records are so front loaded, and I love when bands save something for the end. Are either of those songs that stand out as like, oh, I remember going through this, or like kind of important in any way? Because I really do love the way the record closes down.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. I really do. And I do like the last two songs on that record too. And to say this as best as possible without sounding like I'm putting the record down or anything like that. From my point of view, everything is this technical thing, because you're working it. You're like you're working the engine and blah blah blah. You're not thinking about the feeling of it or anything like that. So I remember the Other Country. I think it was Provident Records wanted a song for the new Narnia movie.
Oh, really?
And they said to write a song for it. So I wrote The Other Country on guitar, and it never made the cut, or they didn't use it or whatever. So I just had that song lying around. And then when we recorded it at the end, this is kind of funny, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but the night before we had a little too much wine, and we got in the studio a little hungover, and Mitchell was really not happy, to say the least. And he kind of gave us a little bit of a yelling, like, get it together, one of those things, and
put on his dad voice.
Yeah. He was the best. He's the best. So, but anyway, he said, let's just do one take. We did one take, and that first take is the take that's on the record, straight through.
Nice.
So yeah, so this was like before getting yelled at and like, oh my God, we need to perform. So that's the take, that's the energy of that song, you know.
That's awesome. Do you feel like for this record, so like I obviously I did a little research and I was doing a little digging. It's harder to find information for this record than anybody out there. And then it's even Freedom Songs. There's I think that's what the next record's called, Freedom Songs.
Freedom
Um,
Souls.
Freedom Souls. I have it written wrong in
Yeah,
my notes.
that's all right. No,
That's
no
why it
big
threw me
deal.
off. I was like, I don't think that's right.
That's
Even
right.
that is like there's more information out there. Does this record feel like it gets lost in the shuffle a little of just kind of maybe because of leaving the Sony right after it kind of comes out?
You know, it's depressing to think about if any of your songs or recordings get lost in you know, in that big sea of the internet, with information and stuff like that. But it happens, you know,
Mm,
all the time, especially to bands and to writers and people that are, you know, really dignified with what they do, and they want to present something, and there's a lot of goodness there, and then it gets lost, and there's this feeling of depression about it. But that's my whole career, you know,
mm,
has been like those ups and downs of, you know, of getting pat on the back and uh, uh, getting the spotlight on what you did, or having no one in the house, you
mm,
know, no one's applauding, and that's what you signed up for, my
mm.
friend. You know,
Yeah.
uh, so uh, so yeah, it's hard, and it's you know, it sucks, but you you learn to kind of go, you know, next thing, you know, what do I do next? And,
Yeah.
you know, what's my next gig? Where do I have to be? How much are they paying? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. What do you think? Well, let's ask this question first. What are you looking back on? Like, what are you most proud of from this record? Again, 15 years
Mm.
later, it's still in rotation in my house.
Oh,
I know it's still in rotation. I know Burlap to Cashmere is still, because I post stuff online about like albums when they celebrate this anniversary, right? And people
yeah.
react to them. Like they're all albums that get reactions from people. So what is it that, 15 years later you're most proud of from this record?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for presenting this record to me and like celebrating it, because I actually I wasn't sure what was going on at first, but now, wow, yeah, that record, right?
Yeah.
Um, but so thank you
Yeah.
for caring. Um, what am I proud of? The whole thing. I
Mm,
mean, you know, it was a lot of hard work. It was under some crazy circumstances. We were up for the task, but we were, you know, also still learning how to work with each other. Um, I'm proud of the songs. I'm
mm,
proud of the guys, Johnny and Teddy, and the people that showed up every day, and the engineer, uh, and 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 Mitchell, and the people that cared. Our manager, Tom Lewis, people that were interested in caring about getting this out there, and thinking about this project every day. I mean, you know, a lot of people put in a lot of hard work, so I'm happy and proud to be a part of that. I'm proud of the songs. I still, I'll listen to the songs every now and then and be like, oh, that's cool. You know, we all think, me, Johnny, and Teddy, we all think that the production's like night and day from the first. You know, no one in Burlap to Cashmere liked that first record as far as
interesting.
production. Yeah, everyone's like, oh God. But but if you listen to it, it's got, you know, it's very, like I said, it's very digital.
Hmm.
This album, not so much, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of rawness going on, and not Tom Waits rawness, but like, you know, it feels like there's a vibe to the record, you know.
There's a vibe for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so I'm proud of that, and you know, life is a journey, and like you look at parts of your life that you were a part of, and it's just memories, you know, good or
Mm.
bad. It's just a part of your journey. So I'm proud of my journey. I'm sure you are too, and you know, and it's a mystery,
Yeah.
and that's the great thing about music too. It's like I never feel like I know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
I try to show up when I can, and I try to give an emotion and present it, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And I leave the business to the guys that really that really have that, that mojo, and just try to explore new things. And really, I just love, mostly watching Netflix, to be honest, at this point. But
Yeah, my wife is the exact same way. After a long day, it's all she's got left in her, and the kids will be like, "Mom, don't you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Guys, she has been dealing with you all day. It's time to just give her a break and let her relax. The dishes
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
there
totally.
tomorrow."
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
I live in a van, driving through the night to that old promised land, singing to the sky with an orchestra band. You know I love you, yes it's true, and there's nothing in this whole wide world I wouldn't do. There's a sacred trust that is sealing up my sound, and the dream of Thomas Merton as
I can't say thanks enough for taking, an hour out of your day to talk about this record and to dive into it. Again, part of the reason we do this show is we want people to go back and like, oh yeah, I forgot about it's why I have this calendar that tracks all these albums that I own or that I
Wow.
listen to.
Yeah.
And part of it is because you grab something, you listen to it a ton, and then you put it on the shelf. Or especially now in the digital age, you just don't circle back to it, right? The algorithm doesn't take you back to it. So I started tracking every record I own because I want to go back and celebrate them. And this was one that when it came up on the calendar, I was like, all right, 15 years. I know that's not like a 25-year, but whatever. And so I was so excited to get to talk about this record. So I can't say thanks enough. Burlap to Cashmere, if people want to find you or want to find kind of Burlap to Cashmere, is there an online presence that you would send people to, or at this point, are you guys just kind of over it? Because I found you through a website that is still up and running.
Yeah, burlaptocashmere.com, I believe, is still up. We have a Facebook page, Burlap to Cashmere, Instagram, Burlap to Cashmere. You can find me at Instagram.com/Stephen Delopoulos. I'm very active on that. I post stuff that me and Johnny do. That's probably the most active you're going to find in the group at this point. And then Johnny has his Instagram. So it's Instagram/Johnny Phillips, Teddy Pagano on Instagram. So yeah, we all do social media. You could try to find us. We'll be there, I think. So
Nice. All
yeah.
right. I don't think I'm following you on Instagram. I'll have to go find you right after this. So awesome.
I make it really hard for people to find me.
I make it a little
my
hard
last
to find
name.
people. I try and hide my last name. I've actually beeped it from the show. So my only concern is job interviews. I don't want somebody to I'm in a job interview and they go Google my name and they're like, this guy spends an awful lot of time putting out podcasts. I think he should be more focused on work. So that's the only reason I've avoided putting my last name up
don't
there.
let them know. Don't let them know.
He's up how late working on stuff? So
That's
awesome.
great though. I love this. This is great. I love what you're doing. This is so cool.
Yeah, no, we're about celebrating
so much success.
Celebrating the records. So I'm happy to get to do it. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hanging out and talking about this record.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Cal.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Everybody look, everybody seem faded into a bad, bad dream. Wheels don't work, car won't drive, nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. One naked man, one naked scheme, faded into a bad, bad dream. Everybody look, everybody glide.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Album Anniversary Podcast. I want to say thanks again to Stephen for taking some time to talk with me about this record. It was great to talk with the lead singer of Burlap to Cashmere and just to kind of hear him talk about this record and why it's important, what the legacy of it is for the band and their relationship to it. So thanks so much for taking some time out to talk with me, Stephen. I really do appreciate it. Despite my better judgment, I'm still on all the social media sites. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky. YouTube, I'm on YouTube. I'd like to be doing more there, but I'm just not because I've been too busy. And I'm also on Patreon. I have a Patreon for $2 a month. You get at least one extra show. I really need to work on next month's because I'm running a little behind. You can also email me, CalebTheSpypodcasts@gmail.com. Please subscribe, share the podcast, leave a rating or review. Again, it's an effective way to spread the word about podcasts for those of us who are not famous and who are just trying to grind away and on a podcast and go as viral as we can. Now, we're not trying to go viral. We're just having a good time. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
The other country, I see the other side. Do not be afraid of this earthly city. Do not be afraid when the Pharaoh's not.
This is also really funny. I saw. Oh man, I'm off track. I put your name in there just to have it in front of me, so I could say it right. And the AI spit out Stephen Delopoulos is the singer-songwriter known for his work in the 90s band Black Eyed Siva. I'm like, so close.